Hello guys, welcome to Petrek Studios, Hollala, Finland. Here we are at the studio kitchen. Kitchen is, well, you know what we do here. There's some coffee table stuff and some stuff for the sound engineer Mikko, who's in the grip of a flu. So some blackberry juice and rum, which is good for him, I hope. I already had myself a cup of tea. Here's the control room and my bandmate Thomas, who still hopes there's something interesting in the internet. We all know that there is nothing.
Here's my little baby, Korg Oasis. I already used this for the previous album, Dark Passion Play. I will use a lot of it for Imaginarium as well. Here we have the mixing console, just about to start with the third song. This is probably the space that we spent most time in for the next 3 weeks at least. It was back in 2007 when we got the Dark Passion Play album finished. I started to think what would be the next thing to do, because the music of Nightwish in itself had already gotten so big and diverse that I thought that, you know, we have walked till the end of this particular path. Now it's time to do something a bit different. That really took the budget out of proportion once again. Mm-hmm. So that'll be like the major catch of this upcoming release, that we're actually doing this music fantasy film at the same time. Here we have the space where the magic of singing happens.
That's where I usually stand. I do my vocals usually wearing my Batman suit, but then you wouldn't know who I am, so I left it for the occasion.
Yeah. And then my personal little kingdom here. The thing with each album that we do is that you want to try some new territories with the music. And for example, on the last album we used a gospel choir, something that we hadn't done before. And for this album there will be, for instance, a kids choir, a children's choir that we haven't done before.
In order to use all those things, you kind of have to figure out, okay, this piece of music actually would become better if you find some interesting sounds and interesting instruments which will complement the whole song and the sound.
Absolutely, that's the most important thing. I mean, we're not using the orchestra or choir or these special instruments because it's cool, so to say. We use it because it brings these certain songs alive.
Even though cool is a nice bonus.
Sure. What we're doing is kind of like introducing a whole new way of storytelling, which means that you actually hear almost the whole album of Imaginarium throughout the movie. And there's a lot of dialogue, but it's basically in between the songs and sometimes on top of the songs. So it's kind of like a hybrid of The Wall by Pink Floyd and Sweeney Todd, Moulin Rouge and Fantasia of Disney. So it's actually the music which is telling the story, but there are still real actors and a lot of dialogue. It's not so much about the place or time. Probably the most important thing for me as a songwriter is that I need time. I need my peace and solitude. So like the original ideas for the storylines and the songs, they can emerge anywhere. But to actually make the song from beginning to the end, to compile all the pieces together, I need a few weeks of privacy, so to say. So I couldn't imagine doing a whole song in the back of a tour bus. Kaksiviivaiseen E-hän menee parhaimmillaan.
Niin, täytyy muistaa, että meidän vireessä D-ssä.
Ne kun me laski se siihen.
Niin,
siis
joo.
Oikeesti.
Niin.
Just se. Ja sit se menee fissään sillä modulaatiossa.
Joo.
Ihanaa, kaunista.
Ever since I started, study studio engineering, started to do studio engineering as a work in the end of 80s, start of 90s, the one constant thing in my very on and off career as a studio engineer has been Genelec speakers, because I find them to be unrivaled, the way they deliver, for instance, low ends with the clarity that you need and all the crispiness and everything that's there in the soundscape. What we have here behind is Genelec 8240 model, which is a DSP speaker, and if you have a laptop, you have a program, you have a small interface box, and then you have a microphone, which you actually hook up with the speakers, and the microphone measures the room and the sound and the acoustic properties of it, and then adjusts the speakers, and then also saves the settings. You can take these babies out from this nice, cozy, roomy control room and take them into some, for instance, into your cellar to record some drums, and there you have some toilet where you actually sitting there with the earphones on or with the speakers in front of you, and you actually measure the acoustical dimensions and properties again, and then you have the optimal sound for that room in order to listen to the speakers, and that's really handy when you're doing this kind of mobile stuff.
I always thought that music business was complicated, and now I have gotten a glimpse of movie business, and you haven't seen anything. So, just hope for the best.